Namaste, folks. We're starting standing. If you're in a chair, refer to instructions from last week. I won't be getting down into a chair today. Find your even standing. This is where you're even on 2 feet, 2 legs, 2 hips, both sides of your ribs, shoulders, both sides of your head. Just scan and breathe while you're here. One more slower than usual breath. And then jump or step your feet out to wide. We're going to Parsvottanasana, just the legs. So I'm using my right foot as my front foot. You can choose to use a different. Remember here, front foot 12 o'clock, back foot 11 or 1, back thigh turns in so hips are parallel to that short end of the mat. Hands on the waist to lift the ribs, and then lift even higher along the front line of the body while you feel support just below the shoulder blades on the back body to take you into your back bend. Back bend in the rib cage, weight on the outer back hip. Keep squaring the pelvis, the hips. One more breath, find a little bit more length through the torso, down into the back heel. Big breath in to come over the top and out of the stance. And then swivel around the other way. So now I'll have my left foot front. Again, 12 o'clock front foot, 11 or 1 on your clock. Your back foot, back thigh in, hips square, also level. Weight on the back heel as you lift the ribs off the hips. Lift even higher along the front line of the torso. Feel the support from underneath the shoulder blades on the back body. When you're ready to come out, wait for a big inhalation. Make sure you're anchored on your back leg. Come up out of the back bend. You'll notice it's very gentle. And then bring those legs in. More is not better here. Take a moment to observe. And then let's head down to the floor. 1 foot on each side. So if we're going for side to side on a narrow side of the mat, I'm going to do this facing you as well as sideways. Padding for your knee if you need to. Things to keep you a little more upright if you need to. Coming all the way up, turning sideways. We're letting the hips fall through toward the floor, toward the front heel. Check the front shin. Should be, so my knee is behind my heel, that's okay, as long as your knee doesn't go past your ankle in a forward direction. And you decide, are you hanging out here with hands on the floor? Are you coming up a little bit? We want to be able to get into the front of that back thigh and hip. While you still breathe, gently. And then push yourself backwards, turn yourself round, and come into other leg front. I'm not going to turn sideways this time. Make sure you line up that front shin perpendicular or slanting with the knee back towards your torso, but not knee further away. So we would like to be able to not fall further forward with this front hip. We'd like the hips to remain square, so across the front of your pelvis from hip bone to hip bone is the same distance, ideally, from the front of your mat. When you're coming out, it's a push backward, big inhalation. And then come on back up onto your feet. Find something where you can support your head. We're going into Uttanasana, that intense forward fold. Make sure the surface is soft enough. Some of you, this may be too high. Some of you, it may be too low. Go for a higher surface if you need. We would like to have top of the head supported. If you are higher, remember it's your forehead. And again, to come out, we're using a big inhalation to get back up on top of legs. Move whatever you need out of the way, because we're headed back down to the floor, and we're going to stay there at this point. So again, padding for the knees may be required. We're going into a plank, but we're doing it on knees and on forearms. Railroad tracks with your forearms, or maybe even hands a little wider than elbows. Make sure the hips are not sagging or lifting up. We're looking for that long extended line between your underarms and your knees. Come on out if you haven't already. And let's come to sit. I'm going to sit on a thing, you don't need to. Let's come to sit in Sukhasana. That's sitting cross-legged, crisscross applesauce. Tailor position. I'm using my right ankle in front of my left. You can do as you wish. Let yourself settle in for a moment here. And then interlace the fingers so that the opposite thumb to the front ankle is on top. Extend, play locally. You may know what I mean. If you don't, you can go back to the longer videos. We want to get the arms up to create a gentle traction through the torso. Tops of thighs heavy down. Torso follows the elbows and the finger joints up. Parvatasana in Sukhasana. And then let it go. Change the crossing of your ankles. Change the interlace of your hands. Find that settling again. You want to feel that you are solid in your Sukhasana before you add the gentle tensioning of the arms. And then let the shape go. And bring the soles of the feet together. Let your legs escape in between if you need. If the hips and knees are not comfortable being externally rotated and drawn in this way. And we're gently just going to let the thighs pulse here. So we're not thinking of big movement in the knee, remember, we're thinking of this coming from very close into the hip joint. If you can think of moving from the bones, your nervous system can help organize the movement. If you need to use your arms to help hold you up, you may need to sit on something a little higher. You can also use your hands behind you or with some assistance, because we still want that torso to be lifted, your spine holding you up. And then let it go. We're going to go all the way down to the floor. Last thing. Lying in constructive rest. So if your back is not healthy, you are going to minimize this twist and you are going to start lying on your side to get there. Again, we refer to earlier videos. If everything is in good form, you can bring your knees to your chest, arms out to a T. Glue your legs together. Take them all the way over to touch. I'm touching my right elbow and the floor. Legs inside of hip, heavy on the floor. And then let the torso and head float in the opposite direction. Remember, you can bend the elbow if the twist is too intense. You can use the hand over by the legs to keep that top knee, that top leg from sliding back toward the shoulder twist. And then going to the other side. So either rolling onto your side if that's appropriate, or just bringing your knees through the middle. Up and over to the other elbow. We want to be very curled up here. Remember, legs land on the floor, one leg right on top of the other, and then we let the other side of the rib cage float down toward the floor as things release and let go. And again, coming out in exhalation, then come back to constructive rest. And you can move into Shavasana if you like. You can stay here if you like. It's your life. Do as much of what you want as you can. I will see you again in 2 weeks to get to my chair, people. Good on you for doing a thing for yourself today.